Hi, my name is Deborah Hallisey, and I'm the Business Intelligence Training Manager for ISA Consulting. Thank you for taking the time to preview one of our training programs. In this short video, you will learn the power of nesting in Analysis Studio. From a business analytics viewpoint, altering where you nest information changes the focus of your business analysis dramatically. During this short video, we're going to answer a business question. What is the revenue change and growth in our product types across all the retailers? In this report example, we're going to answer the business question, what is the revenue change and growth in our product types across retailers? If you look at the time dimension, the years that are in this particular cube are cut into business definitions, current month versus last month, year to date versus prior year to date, and there's a special time dimension in here called year to date grouped. And I'm going to use that as my columns. Upon dragging year to date grouped in the columns, you can see that it looks at the year to date versus prior year to date time frames, but there are also two built-in calculations. What is the difference between year to date and prior to date, and what is the percent of difference or the percent of growth? So I don't have to do those calculations. They are already embedded in that time period. Now I also want to look at this across my product lines. So I'm going to take the products dimension and drag that in as my rows. And since Analysis Studio shows me the product types, I need to go down a level. So going up to the rows in the overview area and right-clicking allows me to choose down a level in that pop-up window. And I want to look at this for revenue, so I'm going to take my revenue measure and drag that into the report. There are a couple of things about this report that I would like you to notice. First of all, the word more. Because there are more product lines than 12, and Analysis Studio only brings 12 data elements into the report at any one time, I need to tell it to look at more product lines. So by clicking on the word more, and then clicking on the custom capability in that pop-up window, I can tell Analysis Studio that I want to look at the maximum number of rows in any report, which is 9,999, by typing that in the visible items area. Once I click on OK, Analysis Studio goes back out to the data and brings in all of my product lines. I also want you to notice that in that built-in definition for time, that we have a summary column as we always do. But because of the calculations, that year-to-date group summary column really doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to right-click in that column, and in the menu that pops up, I'm going to hide it. So I'm looking at now the revenue last year versus this year, the change in revenue, and the percent of growth for each one of my product lines. But my business question is, what is the revenue change in growth in our product lines across the retailers? So I'm going to take the retailers and I'm going to add them to the report, but not as a column per se or not as a row. I'm going to use that feature called nesting. And I'm going to nest the retailers up in the overview area against the rows. And the first time I do this, I'm going to nest it behind the products. So dragging and dropping retailers after our products results in all of those retailers being nested against a particular product line. So what I'm able to see now is for the cooking gear product line, which one of my retailers had the highest sales this year, who had the highest change in sales between this year and last year, and what percent of growth did each retailer have. So for each and every one of my product lines, I'm able to look at and compare retailer against retailer for a particular product line. So if I wanted to run a contest and give some kind of prize to the retailer who sold the most cooking gear between this year and last year, or tenths, this particular view, if you will, of the data allows me to easily do that business analysis by comparing retailer against retailer. That's not exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see for each retailer, how have my product lines been selling? And so changing the orientation of where I nest the retailers changes the orientation of my analysis as well. I am simply going to take my retailers that are nested against the product lines and I'm going to move them. By putting them in front of products, I am going to change the orientation of my business analysis. Now, I can clearly see that within the Americas, this is all of my sales for cooking gear versus tents in each one of the product lines. And if I wanted to look at those by my highest sales versus my lowest sales year to date, then the last natural step in this would be to go over to the year-to-date column, right-click, and say Sort Descending. And now what I'm seeing is within the Americas that eyewear by far had the largest sales change, I should say, between this year and last year. And if I scroll down, I see a subtotal for the Americas across all of my product lines. And continuing to scroll down shows me that even in Asia Pacific, that eyewear was still my largest revenue producer this year. So changing the orientation of where we nest retailers, it's still the same data, but it gives you a different perspective or a different view of how of looking at the data. And this is truly the answer to my business question. What's the revenue change and growth in our product types across all retailers? Thank you for joining me in our training video on the power of nesting in Analysis Studio. Please feel free to preview other training videos on our website or to view our tips and tricks publications off of the website blog. If you have any further questions or you would like more information about our training programs, don't hesitate to contact me at the email or phone number below. Again, thank you for taking your time out of your day to preview one of the ISA Business Intelligence training videos.